Snow fell like quiet whispers from the sky, blanketing the city in a soft, silver glow. Amid the slow bustle of late afternoon, when people hurried home to warmth and laughter, a young woman sat alone on a cold bench at the bus stop. Her red dress clung damply to her skin, her bare legs shivered against the icy wind, and her eyes, hollow, swollen from tears, stared at nothing. She had been crying for hours, though she no longer knew why the tears wouldn't stop. That if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of a simple hug, then please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bright Hearts. Every act of love you spread helps stories like this one reach more hearts. Her name was Sarah Quinn, 25 years old, and she hadn't always been like this. Just a year ago, she had dreams, big, bright, impossible dreams. She had come to the city chasing hope, chasing love, chasing a better life. But dreams, she had learned, can be fragile things. They shatter easily under the weight of reality. When her job disappeared overnight and the man she trusted most turned his back on her, she found herself with nothing but a backpack, a few clothes, and memories she couldn't bear to relive. For weeks, she drifted. Shelters were full, food was scarce, and her pride, that cruel, unyielding thing, stopped her from asking for help. Today was the worst yet. She had walked miles in the cold, hoping for a job interview that never happened. Now, sitting at the bus stop, her fingers trembling, her stomach aching from hunger, she felt invisible, a ghost no one would ever miss. Then, out of the soft haze of falling snow, came the sound of laughter. High, innocent, and full of life. Sarah lifted her head weakly. A little girl, no older than 5, was running clumsily through the snow, her arms open wide, her tiny boots leaving playful prints behind her. Behind her walked a man, tall, carrying a paper bag of groceries, his smile faint but warm. They were just passing by, a father and his daughter, maybe, until the little girl suddenly stopped. She looked at Sarah, tilting her head curiously, and her smile faded into concern. Sarah quickly turned her gaze away, embarrassed. She didn't want pity, not from anyone, especially not from a child. But before she could hide her tear-streaked face, the girl walked up to her. She stood right in front of Sarah, her little hands outstretched, eyes full of pure compassion. And then she said, softly but clearly, "I think you need a hug. Can I hug you?" Sarah froze. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. The words, so simple, so innocent, sliced through the heavy fog of her loneliness. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The little girl didn't wait for an answer. She stepped closer and wrapped her tiny arms around Sarah's shaking shoulders. The warmth of that small embrace melted something deep inside her, something she thought had died. The man, the girl's father, hurried forward, a look of surprise and worry on his face. "Ava," he said gently, "come here, sweetheart." But Ava shook her head, her curls bouncing. "She's sad, Daddy. She needs a hug." The man paused, then looked at Sarah, really looked at her. In her eyes, he saw exhaustion, pain, and something else, quiet surrender. He knelt beside his daughter, lowering his voice. "Hi there," he said softly. "Are you okay? Do you need any help?" Sarah wiped her tears quickly, trying to find words, but all she managed was a broken whisper. I'm fine. Thank you." She wasn't fine. She was starving, freezing, and lost. The man seemed to sense it. "My name's Evan," he said kindly. "And this little sunshine is Ava. We live nearby. You look cold. Why don't you come with us for a bit? We were just about to have dinner." Sarah shook her head immediately. "I can't. I don't want to be a burden." Evan smiled gently. "You wouldn't be. Everyone needs a hand sometimes." Something in his tone, calm, steady, free of judgment, broke her last wall of resistance. Her lips trembled. Ava reached for her hand and squeezed it, her little fingers warm against Sarah's freezing skin. "Please come," the girl whispered. "You can sit next to me." And so, against all her instincts, Sarah followed them through the snow. Their home was small but full of light, the kind that comes not from lamps but from love. The scent of freshly baked bread filled the air, mingling with the warmth from the fireplace. Sarah stood near the door awkwardly, afraid to step too far in. Evan handed her a towel and a blanket, saying, "Warm up. I'll get you some tea." Ava disappeared into another room and came back carrying a teddy bear. You can borrow Mr. Fluffy. He helps me when I'm sad," she said solemnly, placing it in Sarah's hands. Sarah couldn't help but smile through her tears. "Thank you, sweetheart," she whispered. Over dinner, soup, bread, and simple pasta, Sarah learned that Evan was a single father. His wife had passed away 2 years ago after a long illness, leaving him to raise Ava alone. Life hadn't been easy for them either, but they had each other, and that was enough. "Ava has a big heart," Evan said with a quiet laugh. "She believes she can fix the whole world with hugs." Sarah smiled faintly. "She's doing a good job so far." Days turned into a week. What started as a single meal became a temporary stay. Evan never asked too many questions. He just offered space, warmth, and quiet kindness. Sarah helped around the house, cooking, cleaning, telling Ava bedtime stories. She hadn't laughed in months, but somehow, in that little home, laughter returned to her like sunlight breaking through clouds. One morning, Sarah stood by the window, watching snowflakes drift outside. Evan approached, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "You know," he said, "I talked to a friend who manages a small bakery downtown. They're looking for someone dependable. I told him about you." Sarah turned to him, eyes wide. "You did?" He nodded. "You deserve another chance, Sarah. You've been through a lot, but you haven't given up. That counts for something." Her throat tightened. She wanted to thank him, but instead she whispered, "Why are you doing this for me?" Evan smiled softly. "Because someone once helped me when I thought my life was over." Sometimes, kindness isn't about paying back. It's about passing it on. That day marked the beginning of her new chapter. Sarah took the job at the bakery, working tirelessly, slowly rebuilding her confidence. Her laughter returned, her eyes brightened, and she started to dream again, not of perfection, but of peace. Every evening, Ava would run into the bakery after school, hugging her tightly and shouting, "Miss Sarah? I told you hugs make everything better." And every time, Sarah would laugh, kneel down, and hug her back, whispering, "You were right, little angel." Months later, the 3 of them walked together through the same snowy street where they first met. The city looked softer now, kinder somehow. Sarah turned to Evan, smiling. "You know, that day at the bus stop, I thought my life was over." Evan looked at her, his eyes warm. "And now," she said, looking at Ava dancing in the snow ahead of them, "I think it was just beginning." They stood there for a moment, watching the little girl twirl under the falling snow, a tiny beam of light in a world that so often forgets how to shine. Sarah realized that the simplest acts, a smile, a warm meal, a child's hug, can change everything. Because sometimes, all someone needs to start healing is one small moment of love. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Bright Hearts so more people can feel the power of kindness. And before you go, tell us in the comments, what's the smallest act of kindness that changed your life? We'd love to hear your story. As the camera fades, Sarah's voice echoes softly, carried on the wind and snow. Never underestimate the power of a hug. It might just save someone's life.